welcome to the Dice Tower. I am Camilla Cleghorn, and today I want to take a look back to 2022, my most anticipated list. We recently did our top 10 games of 2022. Some of these from the anticipated list actually were on my top 10 of the list, but there's others that we haven't had a chance to get in the office, or I just haven't gotten to the table, something like that. So I just wanted to go through each one, give you my thoughts on it, kind of the status of if I got the game, if I played the game, if I am still interested in the game, any of that. Just kind of review and look back and catch you up a little bit. So with that, let's just jump right in. At number 10, I actually had two games. I had Bot Factory and Omega Virus. I'd originally put Bot Factory on the list, but I wasn't sure if it was going to deliver because the Kickstarter was actually running last year. And a good thing I didn't, because it has not delivered yet. So I haven't had a chance to check out Bot Factory. So I chose Omega Virus as well, which unfortunately I haven't been able to get my hands on a copy. I was looking through this again and kind of looked at my thoughts of why I was excited, looked through BGG again. Still definitely looks like something I'd be interested in playing, but unfortunately haven't had a chance to get it to the table. And at number 9 is Dead Reckoning. I was really intrigued by this pirate game that's going to have this card crafting mechanism that I really like from John DeClaire. And when it came through the office, I had a chance to play it at one of our game nights, and I was not disappointed. It was a little bit heavier than I was originally anticipating, which is not a bad thing, but just a little bit more complex. I absolutely adored in this game the exploration, where you're going out to the sea to see how far you can push your ship, turning over tiles, to see what different islands come up and what actions you can take there. I loved the balance of trying to upgrade your crew members and the hand management to upgrade the right ones that come back into your hand at certain times. That whole just hand management, pirate upgrading, exploration feel really came in a very smooth package. I also really like the combat in this. Dice combat can sometimes be frustrating because there's not a lot of mitigation. I think Give Me a Toy Factory with it, dropping the cubes down in the pirate ship, was just a lot of fun. This is a game, like I said, was a little bit more complex than I was anticipating going into it. That's not a bad thing at all. I really enjoyed, and I think it enriched the play experience. Unfortunately, it does keep it from getting to the table a little bit for me. I think if I would rate it right now, I would rate it an 8. It's definitely one that I am always excited to play, but I do need a little bit, the right kind of group, the right environment to get it to the table. Unfortunately, I haven't had that opportunity much. I do think that as I do get to the table more, this number has room to go up. I can see myself even putting this up at like an 8.5 into that seal of excellence category, but I'm just not quite there yet. I think I need to explore it a little bit more and see the depth of the gameplay. So my number 9 was Dead Reckoning, a fantastic game. Definitely lived up to its expectation. And at number 8, I had Transmissions. Transmissions I was drawn to just because of the artwork originally. I remember when this campaign was happening, I saw the little robots and just was absolutely enamored by them. Come to find out the backstory of that, where the designer actually went to Matt Dixon, the illustrator, because he saw the artwork and was like, hey, I want to make a board game based off this artwork. And I think that was a fantastic idea. It really is a family weight board game. I knew that going into it. And I think because of that, I was actually a little bit apprehensive. I remember thinking like, that's great, as long as there's enough there. And I will say, once I got to the table, it was everything I wanted it to be. It was a quick playing. It was easy to understand. It had enough variation in the different ways to win, but really did not have a lot of overhead in the rules, and I absolutely adored that. This is a game that has hit my table multiple times this year. Of the ones I've been most looking forward to, probably my most played, honestly, and I don't see that going down. When I originally rated this with the team, I rated it a 9, and it absolutely sits there as well. This is, again, one that just keeps hitting the table over and over again for the aesthetics, for the ease of play, for the ease of getting it to the table, for a great teach, and just a really good comfort game for me. So my number 8 was Transmissions, and absolutely met expectations. Sitting at number 7 last year, I put Oathsworn. Oathsworn is a huge game. We knew that going into it. You know, people were comparing it to, KDM, Kingdom Death Monster. They were comparing it to Gloomhaven. And I will say, once we got it, and we got it to the table, I did have a chance to play this one. It is both of those things. I think it is accurately compared to those. However, it still stands on its own. I think what it does is it takes a lot of both of those games that I like and puts it into a really good package of both. It has this distinctive two-phase feel where you're going and through the village phase and you're building up your characters and you're advancing your storylines. You're making some really important decisions that you don't know how they're going to play out. You know, you think you're going to make the most ethical choice, but it can come back to haunt you. Or you can make a really dirty choice, and it can also come back to haunt you. So you really don't know, but you know that the choices you make are going to matter. And you see that whether it is in the next phase where you're going out into the boss battler or in the after story. But I really enjoy the way those two phases are so distinct in both feel and play, but you see them coming together smoothly. My biggest complaint of this game when we reviewed it was that kind of overhead and just the behemoth that it is to get to the table, the setup, the teardown. It can be quite a bit. And so because of that I did dock it a little bit, and I put it at an 8. I will say with more plays of this and more exploration, I've gotten a little bit better about that. With that, I feel a little more comfortable with it, and I'm just finding myself really enjoying the experience of this. So I've actually, now I would take my rating up to an 8.5, 8.5, into that seal of excellence. I very much enjoy this. I want to play more. I think it's a manageable campaign game that came in with a lot of hype, and it is one of those games that not only fulfills that hype, but keeps it going. So it's that, not just a slow burn, it's like a fire. It's like a fire that just keeps going. And so Oathsworn definitely delivered on what it was, and it was most anticipated and met those very high expectations, which is a hard thing to do. So my number 7 was Oathsworn. My number 6 is another Kickstarter that I unfortunately have not been able to get my hands on. It is DEI, Divide et Impera. I'm going to guess on how to say that. I don't know. But DEI is one that when we were at, I want to say Essen, I did see a copy of it, but I wasn't able to snag it. And unfortunately, we have not had one come through the office, and I just haven't been able to find one personally either. So I've not been able to check out DEI, but it is still one with the theme, with the mechanisms. Would love to try it one day. Hopefully the opportunity comes. And number 5, we have another one that I've yet to get to the table, but this one has come through the office, and I do know that it is in the library, and this is Dice Theme Park. Dice Theme Park really intrigued me, first of all, because of the theme. I love theme parks. Second of all, I like Dice Hospital and what it does with that dice management, but I like the aspects of the dice placement and kind of dice management as well, but you're not really rolling the dice. I just think it uses dice in a really interesting way in a theme that I really like. So it is one that I'm still interested to get in the table. I do have the cruise coming up here soon. We also have Dice Tower East. It is in the library, so maybe at that point I'll be able to get it to the table finally so I can find out if it meets those expectations. But so far I've unfortunately not had the opportunity. So my number 5, to be continued, Dice Theme Park. My number 4 is another game that drew me in because of the theme, and this is Monsters on Board. I love this idea of a monster bash, if you will, and sending your minions out to the town to collect spook juice in order to fuel your party. It just absolutely drew me in with the look and everything of this game, the Micho artwork, but also, again, interesting ways to use dice. I love multiple use cards, and I feel like that was implemented potentially well into Monsters on Board with these multi-use dice. And I will say the gameplay of this, once I got to the table, didn't disappoint. It gave me everything I wanted in the gameplay. I loved the tough decisions of how to use those dice, which ones to choose, not just which to choose, but what do you choose them for? Are you taking them for their color or for their symbol? Are you going to use them in the town, or are you going to use them for your resource generation so that you can get more cards and things like that? Very interesting decisions with drafting, this open draft that you're passing around the table as well. Mechanically, I loved this game. Unfortunately, I docked it quite a bit, and I only rated it a 7, mostly because of the usability of this game. The components got in the way a lot. Admittedly, I only had an opportunity to play the deluxe copy of it, and I think that they didn't use the components enough to really know how much they were going to get in the way. So that really detracted from the gameplay. So I came in at a 7 for this game, but man, I love the mechanisms of this. I think now I would maybe be a little more lenient. I'm finding myself wanting to get it to the table more despite that. So I think I would go up to a 7.5, but that 7.5 recommending is really going to come with some caveats as well. And that potentially would be, again, bandaged a little bit if I had an opportunity to play the retail version, I think. But otherwise, I would need to go through and fix the components, and that's just not what I want out of a game. So I have a hard time recommending it with the component issues, but gameplay-wise, this game would be an 8 or an 8.5 for me. It's just not quite there yet. And unfortunately, with time, I am finding myself more pulled to those mechanisms of wanting to get it to the table. The components are just holding me back. So my number 4, fantastic, lived up to the hype of the mechanisms and the theme, but unfortunately just the components weren't quite ironed out. And that was number 4, Monsters on Board. And at number 3, we have another game that hasn't gotten to the table, but this time is not my fault because it has not yet delivered from Kickstarter. This is Legend Academy. In Legend Academy, again, at the theme, these legends that you have your Robin Hood, you have your Little Red Riding Hood, who are going to school to learn how to be legends, right? And you're sending them into the classroom to learn things, but also into the field to get some real experience and try to advance their stories and make these quests. I'm really interested in this again. This is one that as I'm looking through this list, I was like, I really am so excited about these games that I want to play, but it just hasn't delivered yet. So still waiting for my copy on that one. Number 3, Legend Academy. At number 2, we have Endless Winter. Wow, did this one meet expectations and exceed them. When Endless Winter was on Kickstarter and thereafter, it was consistently compared to Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune, which came out a little bit before. They were coming out right when the Endless Winter was on the Kickstarter. So it was this whole big thing, kind of constantly all you heard is of these 3, which is the best, which is the best, which is the best. They all 3, in my opinion, stand very distinctly. They all 3 are in my collection for different reasons. Endless Winter is in my collection because it is the game that just keeps giving. I think in the base game alone, there are so many different paths to victory, all within just a couple tracks. You have a very limited worker pool, you have a very limited action selection or worker placement on the board. You have a great hand management system with a little bit of deck building, and it's a game that manages to do a lot and have a lot going on without you feeling your focus can be split, but your focus isn't fractured, if that makes sense. So you have a lot going on to consider and to try to balance, but you don't feel so pulled in different directions that it's just impossible or that you just break. And I find that that is a great balance to maintain. But then there's also some different modules that you can work in, and with the different expansions that came out with this, that really just enrich or enhance the different aspects of that game. So it's the game that just keeps giving, and you can kind of customize it to your own play style. I've been at tables before where we have 3 different players playing 3 different strategies, and the end is very, very close. And that is so satisfying to me, to see that balance and to see you being able to really explore your play style, or otherwise a play style you're not comfortable with, like, hey, let's go this way and try this strategy, and at the end still feel like you're being competitive. That being said, I've definitely had ones where it's like, ooh, that strategy did not work. Never gonna use that again because I was not competitive with it. But it didn't take away from the experience of it. And this is one that the more it gets to the table, just the more depth that I'm finding in it. I'm really, really enjoying this. Unfortunately, I was not able to be part of the original review for this. I wasn't in the office at that time, but I would have come down at a 9 on this game. I absolutely adore it. And that possibly could go up to a 9.5. Again, these reviews, or our opinions, of course, like yours, I'm sure as well, they kind of sway and go up and down with our plays and different play groups. But right now I'm sitting at a solid 9 on this game, and I look forward to every opportunity to get it to the table. So my number 2 most anticipated game was Endless Winter. And at number 1, I had Burn Cycle. Burn Cycle from Chip Theory Games was my most anticipated game of 2022. Did I have a chance to play it? Yes. Did I play it? No, this is like my biggest personal disappointment. I tried a couple times, but unfortunately those game nights where it was being played just didn't work out with my schedule. So a couple different times I've had it on the docket to play and just haven't had a chance to. And that's really unfortunate and really sad to me. This is a game I'm still very interested in. This is another one too that's in the Dice Tower library. I have it right there. Hopefully with, again, the retreat, Dice Tower East, the cruise especially coming up really soon. Hopefully I'll be able to get it to the table at one of those. But my most anticipated game, which is right now my biggest disappointment in myself, is not getting Burn Cycle to the table. So hopefully we can remedy that soon. And there we have it. That was my most anticipated games of 2022. I think 1, 2 of them have not fulfilled, and I've not been able to get them here in the office play. 1, 2, which wasn't able to play because of personal circumstances didn't work out. So hopefully, again, we can remedy that and I can get them to the table with some of the things coming up. Have you played them? What were your thoughts? Should I still check them out? What are you excited about? What were your favorite games that you played? Did they live up to the hype? Did they not? Let me know down below. Until next time, I'm Camilla Cleghorn. Thanks for stopping by.